The Brewhouse was created to capture and share with you the long history of the Genesee Brewery. But the brewery itself isn't half as interesting as the beer and the people who make it. Visit GeneseeBrewhouse.com. Hi everyone, and thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box from the mighty Genesee Brewhouse. I'm Bill Pucko. Thanks for joining us, and we're happy to welcome back Greg Keagle, Major League pitcher out of MCC.
Glad
our
to be
guy
back.
In the bigs.
Yep, glad to
Talks
be
some
back.
baseball.
Thanks
Mike Catalana,
Yep.
co-hosting Pat Duffy, wearing the uniforms of the former Buffalo Bills quarterback.
QBs after Kelly in honor of the Bills' fantastic start. The last time the Bills did this, the quarterback was number 14, my personal favorite, and man who I try and groom myself after, Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Who isn't in the game anymore, is he?
No, he is.
Yeah,
Back up at Tampa Bay.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
good for him.
He's a Harvard guy.
Greg, let's talk a little baseball. We got the playoffs are underway. The Yankees, made it through the one gamer. Those four teams in the American League. How do you see this whole thing playing out?
Well, I think last night was a good first game. I think it gives us an indication of what it's going to be like, and it's power pitching. And I think that when you get into the playoffs, the one part of the game that doesn't slump is velocity. So I saw a lot of mistakes last night that were fouled off, popped up. If that's 94, 93, that ball's out. And these guys, as good as they are, it's still tough to see 99, 96, 103.
Are the Yankees at all compromised in the Cleveland series by having to play the type of game that they did against Minnesota?
I don't think so. I think that a 5-game series is still small enough. Severino's obviously healthy enough to come back. It's a matter of whether he's mentally tough enough to come back. It's important to be able to get right back on the horse and perform. But I think the Yankees match up good. They're both clubs have a lot of offensive power, if you will. They're one swing away from causing damage. And like I said, you have power pitching in that bullpen. It doesn't matter who you run out. They're throwing 99, 98. 100 plus. That's pretty impressive.
I know we put it behind us. We got the one-game playoffs. Do you like the one-game sudden death?
I think you like it unless it's your team in the game, because I think it brings everybody else in watching it, but you're scared to death when it's your team. And I really like the Twins. I think they did a great job. It's so much fun to see all those Red Wings. But let's be honest, this Final Four in baseball, in the American League, I can't remember a year where I thought all four teams were that good and that solid coming into it. And I think what happened in that playoff game was the Yankees put the shot out there to everybody to say, you better have the lead on us in a game, because their bullpen is fantastic. And I know the back end of the Boston bullpen is really good, but the Yankees, when you can survive with your starter going a third of an inning, I think that says a lot. But Cleveland is outstanding. Houston, Boston, I think it's going to be a great Final Four.
Yeah, I think that.
I mean, well, first of all, you're right about that one-game playoff where, I love this, but if I'm a Twins or a Yankees fan, it's driving me crazy. How do you play 180-some-odd games and it comes down to 9 innings? Second of all, I want to be invested in these games. I wanted to watch that game the other night, Tuesday night, but I play men's league hockey on Tuesdays, and the game started at 8 o'clock? Mm-hmm. I got in my car after the game was over at 11, turn on 95.7 ESPN. It's the 6th inning at 11 o'clock.
The first inning took an hour.
But I mean, even if it didn't, you're still looking at mid-7th inning at 11 o'clock at night. How am I? By the way, 2 East Coast teams too, Minnesota and New York. Why? Why are you asking these folks, your hardcore fans, to stay up past midnight to see the results of a one-game playoff?
We didn't touch on the National League, Greg. What do you think about the National League teams?
That's a different series than power pitching and offense, right? You're going to see a lot of good defense. You're going to see good base running. Of course, you've got the pitcher hitting, so you've got a little bit more managerial strategy that comes into play. But I certainly think that it's going to be an exciting series. I think it's exciting playoffs. I think over the long haul, though, I got to give the edge to the Dodgers. I think that they're going to turn it around. I really do.
Cool. Well, quickly, give me an overall winner. Who you got?
Cleveland.
Mike?
Yeah, I think Cleveland in the World Series, and I have this odd feeling about Washington this year. They've been such underachievers. I think this is the year they make it to the World Series.
I like Washington too, just because nobody thinks they're going to do it this year. That's the year they do it.
So are you picking Cleveland or Washington?
I'll say Cleveland to win the whole thing against Washington in the World Series.
All right, I like the Indians too. This is the Rochester Press Box presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Football time, and the Buffalo Bills are next. The Press Box, brought to you in part by Connors and Ferris, your workers' comp attorneys. Call 262-COMP, C-O-M-P, today. Welcome back. This is the Rochester Press Box presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. We're at the Genesee Brewhouse, and this portion, our Buffalo Bills portion, is brought to you by Connors and Ferris. Good to have them back. Mike, to make of this team out 3-1, there's so much enthusiasm for them. The game we're looking ahead to is at Cincinnati, and Cincy's favored by 3.
Doesn't surprise me that the Bengals are favored. I mean, the Bills are a very good defensive team. They don't put up a ton of points offensively. Cincinnati should have beaten Green Bay, came home, beat up on a bad Cleveland team, but they are still, I would still put them in the category of desperate team, right? You're 1-3. I think this is a tough spot for the Bills. This tells me so much about this team. The Atlanta win was huge. It's a big upset. It gets some attention. But these are the kind of games you need to go and win. And think about what it would mean for the Bills to go win this game, then get the bye, be guaranteed to be in first place after 5 games and get another conference win. And normally, this would be the point. We'd be turning on them a little bit and going, but I watched that game Sunday, and when they needed the 4th down play, they made it. When they needed the field goal, they made it. I'm not saying they're 12-4, but I'm saying in these moments when it's close, I'm going to side with them. I think they win a close one, but I got it ugly, like 19-17.
Boy, you know, they do it the way you like to see them do it, with discipline, and they don't turn the ball over. And these are things we're not used to seeing.
Well, but actually, no, they haven't turned the ball over in a very long time. Like, Tyrod Taylor has been really good at protecting the ball. The difference is they're getting the ball from the other team's offense. And by the way, Mike, you say you're not surprised that they're dogs. Okay, for fact, Bills are 4-0 against the spread in Vegas this season. Fact, that game against Atlanta was the biggest road win in 17 years. Fact, you defeated 2 undefeated teams in back-to-back weeks. And listen, Cincinnati, I went back and watched that Browns-Bengals game. The Browns are bad. Yeah. Bad. Andy Dalton is bad. If the Bills aren't favored in this game, they're not going to be favored all season long.
You're not going to be favored in a game like this on the road. You got to be another notch up to be that team.
For the general public, I mean, again, that's what Vegas reflects. Still isn't buying into this. If they're making them an underdog at Cincinnati, what do you got?
I'm taking the Bills. They're 4-0 against the spread. They're going 5-0 against the spread. It's 3 points, for God's sakes. Yeah, and they're winning this game straight up.
You guys have some cred. 6-2 against the spread, 7-1 against. You guys are doing great. Okay, 2 Bills picks. What do you got?
I think the Bills as well. I think it's a little bit of an insult. This team needs a shot like that. I got the Bills.
Well, I'm going to take Cincinnati because I've been playing against them. I'm doing this on behalf of the home team. Because I've been picking against them every week.
Until you win, and then you're like, told you guys, called it.
Of course, that's what I'll do.
Right.
What's your second game, Greg?
I think Jacksonville's playing good. I think they're sneaky. I think 8.5. I know that Pittsburgh has a potent offense, but I think Jacksonville goes in there, plays good defense, and I think they cover the spread.
Pittsburgh's the new Vegas favorite now to get to win the Super Bowl. Yeah. What do you got, Mike?
This one's going to be a close one. Yeah, I like road or home underdogs, and it's an iffy one because it's close. But I'm going to take Houston getting a point from Kansas City. Kansas City's a really good team. They're the last undefeated team. But Houston at home in this game and the way they play defense, I think Kansas City nearly blew the game the other night, and they ended up pulling it out. I'm going to take Houston getting a point.
Deshaun Watson for real?
I really like the kid. I like a lot about him. I like the way he handles things. He's going to have a clunker. He's going to have, every quarterback does. But I've been impressed by the way he plays, and I do think they play pretty good defense. So I'm going to take him at home with the point.
And your second game, my friend?
First, I want to say thank you to Mike for doing that so I can catch up. Miami, 2.5 against the Titans. Titans, fact! Bills legend Matt Cass will be starting at quarterback for the Titans on Sunday, and it's trick-or-treat Jay Cutler time.
Jay Cutler is still playing, right, for the Dolphins?
Jay Cutler is still playing, and after what he did in London, you know how Jay Cutler plays ball. He comes out, he stinks it up, and then the next week he goes and throws 5 touchdowns and 300 yards. Jay Cutler will win this game. Dolphins not only cover, but win right out against the Titans on Sunday.
All right, I'm going for the winless Giants hosting the Chargers. Homecoming for the Giants. I just think that they're due. They give it 3.5. Connors and Ferris, the sponsor of this segment of the Rochester Press Box, will award the winner of our Pick the NFL contest a check of $500 to be donated to the Hunters Hope Foundation. Mike Catalana leading presently at 7-1 against the spread. Greg Connors this week picks Buffalo, getting 3 at Cincinnati. This is the Rochester Press Box presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. We are at the Brewhouse, and this portion was brought to you by Connors and Ferris. Like It or Not is next.
A lot of pride in seeing your receivers play well. Devin Funchess has seemed to really embrace the physicality of his routes and getting those extra yards. Does that give you a little bit of an enjoyment to see him kind of truck sticking people out there?
It's funny to hear a female talk about routes. It's funny. But fun is coming along.
Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box here from the Genesee Brewhouse. Like it or not, I don't expect you to really like this, but Alex Morgan got herself kicked out of Disney World.
I actually do like this, and I'll tell you why. Alex Morgan, U.S. women's soccer star, goes to Disney World and has oodles and caboodles of booze, right? Just drinks herself to where she can't handle it anymore. This is going to sound dumb, but Mike, you know how the sports world works. The more scandal that female sports has, the better it is for them, because guess what we're talking about today? Alex Morgan. Guess what we wouldn't be talking about unless if she went out and scored 5 goals in a WSL soccer league? Alex Morgan.
I mean, is that the same reason that Disney World would let this out? I mean, why does this become known?
Well, I think people in the pub saw what was happening. Alex Morgan is a legitimate star to certain people, especially down there. They care. By the way, funniest part, she was also in there with like 12 other MLS stars.
Yeah.
Nobody knows her name, but Alex Morgan was the one that got chucked out of Disney. This is great. I mean, listen, even the bad stuff that Abby Wambach went through was good for her career. It's good for women's sports. The fact that we care that Alex Morgan got drunk and was thrown out of the happiest place on earth.
Greg, that Monday Night Football game, Kansas City Chiefs pull out a defensive touchdown last minute, both to cover and to beat the over-under. Boy, there's some unhappy gamblers out there. Like that or not?
As a purist, I like it. I think that the sport is what matters. To keep my family safe, I will say that I don't like that it was against the Vegas spread. But no, I think that, I think that's what makes the spread so exciting. That's when we're talking about 3 points with the Bills. We're talking about, how can the spread be this versus that? And the fact that they have lights like they do and entertainment in Vegas, they obviously win more than they lose.
Vegas never minds. They never lose these things.
That's
They play them both.
I felt if you bet and won on that game, you should never bet again. If you bet and lost on that game, you should never bet again. Because that was the strangest win, loss, cover, fail, and I think it did the under-over too, so strangest play.
So they get what? They get their tie game in the last minute, and they wind up with 9 points.
9 points. Well, they kicked the field goal. You know, if anybody didn't say it, I mean, they kicked the field goal, and then they're doing, and you see that a lot. They're just throwing the ball around. Rarely does a guy pick it up and run it in the end zone.
The only thing that could have made it worse is like Kansas City took a knee on the extra point.
Yeah.
And it was like within a half of the over-under. If that had broken that, I mean,
Yeah.
that's the only thing that would have made it worse.
would,
Like it or not, hockey season opens.
I'm excited for it, and certainly for the Sabres, I'm excited for it too. And all the other sports, the major sports, are, you know, NFL has had a comeback couple of weeks. Basketball's got everybody talking about it, and Major League Baseball's in the middle of the playoffs with some exciting games. But I think the NHL, and especially locally, I think it's going to be good. I think the Sabres are going to be better, and I'm excited about the Amerks. So hockey season's back, I'm all in.
Your extra point last week is on Brian Giunta. Anything new to tell us about the whole idea of him maybe playing Rochester?
My sources have said everyone went radio silent. Have you heard anything, Mike?
Same exact thing, and I think they're waiting. And I think when the time is right for Brian, he'll make that final decision. I still think there's a chance. I'm telling you there's a chance, but I don't know if Pat's call to get everybody to get Brian has worked
Maybe
yet.
you're not bothering him enough. Keep
Well, we
calling
got
Brian. Keep doing
another
it.
week.
Yeah.
This is the Rochester Press Box. We are at the Genesee Brewhouse. Unfinished Business is next.
Dunkin' has lots of fall favorites to root for. Maple pecan, pumpkin, maple sugar bacon. But on game day, we root for one team. One team, baby. Win the fall, folks.
Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box here from the great Genesee Brewhouse. Time for Unfinished Business, brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Pat.
4 names you need to know: Eichel, McDavid, Matthews, Draisaitl. For the first time in maybe 15 years, the NHL is exciting and it's young. Not since Crosby and Ovechkin do we have actual talented young players that are going to go out and make a difference for their team. And not only make a difference, the top 5 players in this league this season could be guys that have all played under 3 years in the NHL. It's an unbelievable time to be a hockey fan. And if the NHL had any sense, they'd be capitalizing on it. They don't. They're stupid. They're going to blow it. But for those of us who already know how great the game is, and for those of you who know how exciting those players can be, there has never been a season to be excited about like this one. Sabres-Leafs rivalry. Edmonton good again. The Winnipeg Jets. Now I know where Winnipeg is. How exciting is this?
Are the ages changing at the other end, too? Because it used to be not unusual to have 40-year-old hockey players.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mike can attest to this. The reason Brian Giunta is not playing in the NHL this year is not because he can't play. It's because there's been this massive youth movement. It's less expensive unless you're Jack Eichel, and you have the guys under contract for longer.
This is probably my favorite time of year in sports, just because of the culmination of baseball, and typically, October baseball brings out something special with teams, and we're seeing as how we're talking about point spreads and some of the gambling. For anybody that's looking for an edge, look at things like power pitching, look at things like defense, look at things like base running, things where the pressure doesn't seem to mount as much. When you're trying to throw a 3-2 slider on the black, that's a little bit different than throwing 99, 103 right down the middle and being able to air, an inch or two. So I think that, this is just an exciting time, and it's fun to watch. There's some young players. As a New Yorker, Yankees have a lot of talent. So, it's just an exciting time of year, and I'm excited to see baseball.
Yeah, in that baseball sense, why is playoff baseball, it seems so different than a regular season game?
I think it's the fact that every pitch matters, right? Every out, and not that it doesn't in Major League, during the regular season, but they always talk about baseball being a marathon, not a sprint, right? It's important that you pace yourself and that your guys are healthy for the long haul. Well, all that's off the table now, and it's literally just get an out at a time, one inning at a time, one game at a time, and that mentality is not just physically exhausting, but it absolutely is mentally taxing as well.
Cool. All right, so the Bills are in first place, and they are leading their division, and people say all the time, what should we buy into? What should we believe in? And I would say this, you listen to Sean McDermott, you listen to the players, and it's kind of scary how much they seem to have bought in. They are taking it the old one game at a time, and they are looking at it that way. And I think that's a great thing, because the team needs to approach things that way, because every team, including the Bengals on their schedule this week, is ready to knock you off when you're not ready to play. But for you, the fans, I know you've been here before. I know you've been disappointed. You're a Bills fan. You're so tired of seeing this and being worried about buying in and then being disappointed. Well, guess what? You've been disappointed enough, and we don't know what the rest of the year is going to be. Go ahead and enjoy it. You're 3-1. Find your Patriots buddy, text them. Tell them we're a game up on you and we're going to win the division. What difference does it make? What? You're going to eventually be wrong and they're going to win again? We've seen that happen enough times. Have fun, enjoy yourselves. I won't say relax because it's hard to relax, but you are in first place. You may still be in first place. You may still be there in a couple of weeks. You haven't had a chance to do this. Have some fun. Leave the worrying to McDermott and the players.
Yeah, you can say it better. Enjoy the moment.
Enjoy it. You haven't had many of them.
Alrighty. This is the Rochester Press Box presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Our unfinished business brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Greg, great to have you.
It was great being here.
Bring you in when baseball's right out front. Mike, great as always. Pat, thank you very much.
I scared him.
Why didn't you just do that? Everything was going so well. Why didn't you just do that?
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week on the Rochester Press Box.